to be here today. And first of all, I would like to say it's an honor just to be considered to be inducted to the Hall of Fame. So actually being inducted today is very exciting. I feel very proud and I'm very honored. And first of all, I would like to thank tennis player Christopher Peterson, who is the Swedish tennis player here. He was here a few years before me, and he one day accidentally, not accidentally, but he got a ride to the mall from the previous volleyball coach before Alida, and he asked him if he knew a volleyball player, and luckily he only knew me. So that's when my journey started to becoming an Armstrong pirate. Of course, I want to thank my head coach, Alan Siegel, that I had for my 4 years playing for Armstrong. I want to thank all my assistant coaches that I had, and especially Kelly Stewart McDaniel, who also helped me with all the paperwork and everything to get ready to be able to come here. I want to thank all my teammates that I had that I played with through my years. I want to thank all the people around the team, the trainers, Chad, Walter, athletic department. They were always supporting and cheering on us during our games. I want to thank my dearest friend Amy, who's here with us today. She took me under her wing. She helped me with English, with paperwork, with homework, with everything. So I want to thank you especially. I want to thank my professors that I had. They were always very interested in how we were doing, and also always came to our games. I want to thank my family back home in Sweden, my parents, my siblings, my grandma. It couldn't have been easy for them to send their daughter across the big pond, not knowing what I was getting myself into. I just want to send out a big thank you to everyone that I met during my years at Armstrong. It wouldn't have been possible for me to have the accomplishment on the volleyball court if it wasn't for you guys. And I also would like to take this opportunity to wish my husband a happy birthday. It's his birthday today. So I'm glad that he wants to celebrate his birthday by celebrating me. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
It is truly an honor to be selected into the Hall of Fame at Armstrong. I would like to thank Athletic Director Lisa Sweeney, the Hall of Fame committee that voted for me, and coaches Joe Roberts and Calvin Culverson. I would also like to say thank you to all my teammates. Baseball is a great team sport. And without my teammates, I would not be in a position to receive this award. Chris goes on to talk in great length about his experience trying to play baseball in Minot High School up in North Dakota. And so, as you can imagine, certainly he was scraping ice off the pitcher's mound and having to practice indoors most of the time. He remembers telling himself during that time that I needed to play baseball somewhere warm and outdoors where the sport is supposed to be played. Hence, during his sophomore season, he goes on and says, our team won our district tournament and went on to play in the Junior College World Series in Grand Junction, Colorado. Thus, playing in the Junior College World Series got me recognized and recruited by numerous colleges and universities, and obviously that's where Armstrong came in. He says, it was the tradition and success of the baseball program at Armstrong that sealed my decision to play in Savannah, Georgia. It was a good decision because I met a lot of wonderful people at Armstrong who supported me and who I relied on since I was so far from home. He talks about some of his teammates, but he also says it was the family atmosphere that I enjoyed the most at Armstrong, and I will cherish that time for years to come. But for Chris, here was the most important point, and he articulates it here. I, like many of my teammates, had the dream to go on and play professional baseball. I had the opportunity to play with and against several people who went on to have careers in the major leagues. I also knew how difficult it was to achieve, which is why I concentrated on my academics as well. The proudest moment of my time at Armstrong was being selected as a Capital One Academic All-American. This recognition proved that my hard work in the classroom paid off. Chris is currently living in Lincoln, Nebraska. He is employed by the Lincoln Police Department in Lincoln. He graduated in '95 with a degree in criminal justice and has become very successful. He is currently an investigator with the Criminal Investigations Division, serves on the city SWAT team, and is also union president with that. He simply could not make this trip. But he really wraps it up by saying this, which I think is important. Becoming a father was the greatest moment of my life. His daughter Blake was born in 2002. Being a parent is challenging and rewarding, which is why I must recognize my mom, Gwen, and dad, Steve, who supported me in everything I set out to accomplish. They emphasized excellence in the classroom first and sports second. They traveled to every game to which my sporting events, whether it was baseball, football, or basketball. In North Dakota, that was usually a 2-hour drive. One way for the away games particularly. They set high standards for me both on and off the field, which has contributed to my success.
Thank God for all of his many blessings and for this wonderful historic opportunity. I also want to congratulate the other honorees this evening for their accomplishments here at Armstrong Atlanta State University. I remember the day when I spoke with my father and mother, Ray and Amelia Gordon, about wanting to play basketball. I was unskilled, uncoordinated, but I had a passion and a drive to want to learn and to get better. My parents transported me to different AAU competitions, basketball practices, basketball camps, investing in my dream. The game of basketball has really taught me enduring life lessons, such as following basic rules, teamwork, competing on equal terms in the workforce, making personal sacrifices, being teachable and disciplined, as well as winning and losing. It has ultimately taught and prepared me for the game of life. I remember on several occasions as a student when the coaching staff, led by Roger Hodge, here at Armstrong, would give my teammates and I lessons on life. They instilled in us togetherness, hard work, integrity, and dedication. And I am so grateful for that. I really enjoyed my time here at Armstrong, the campus, the food, the classes, as well as the parties. The most memorable event for me was returning for a 5th year and playing in the championship game. Although we were not victorious, we played our hearts out and we held our heads high. I would like to conclude in voicing my sincere appreciation to those people who took their time to motivate and inspire and believe in me. And I would like to ask those, my family and friends, to stand who came here today to support me. I really appreciate it. And to Armstrong Atlanta State University, I simply say thank you for selecting me to be an honoree and to be able to walk this path and leave a legacy. Thank you.
Good evening from Germany. Unfortunately, I cannot be there with you all tonight, but I wanted to send you a video message to express how honored I feel about this award. First of all, I would like to thank the Hall of Fame Selection Committee for choosing me to be one of the 5 inductees this year. I was so happy when Lisa called me to tell me the great news. It really means a lot to me, and it is a big honor to have a picture hanging on the wall in the Sports Center next to all of these great athletes, so thank you very much. Well, I played my last match for Armstrong on May 13th, 2011 in Orlando, and that was a very sad day. Now, almost 3 years later, I have earned a master's degree in global logistics and am working as a project manager in logistics in a big company in Hamburg. But there's almost no day that I don't think back to the wonderful time that I had in the US at Armstrong. So, it is true when you say, once a pirate, always a pirate. I would like to thank Armstrong Athletics for the scholarship and for letting me experience the life as a pirate. During this time I have met wonderful people and made new friends from all over the world. I love to think back to those 4 years, and I'm thankful for the time with the different team members, girls and guys. I love to think back to those millions of practices, conditionings and hours that we spent in the weight room, our funny bus trips with Walter to different cities in the US, or our longer trips to Phoenix and to New York, where we actually won our doubles match against Stanford, our memorable spring break trips to Vegas over my birthday, the player profile that Bruce did at Paula Dean's restaurant, and of course, the 3 national championships. And as you can see, I'm still wearing the rings, or let's say 1 ring every day. And I've also decorated my apartment with our award trophies and with pictures from Armstrong, as you can see here. So all of these bring my mind back to Armstrong every day. Of course, especially the start in the US was not always easy, because it was or is a different country, culture and language, and also the way tennis is played in the US is rather different to the way it is played in Germany, because in Germany it is more this individual type of sport, but in the US it is a team sport, and you cannot achieve anything without your team. I quickly realized though that those 4 years were going to be the best 4 years of my life, and yes, I have to say they are still. Leaving for good to Germany after those 4 years was not easy, because I got used to the life in the US and to the people so much, and I have met so many great people during this time. After 4 months of being back in Germany then, I received an email saying that I was one of the top 30 NCAA Women of the Year honorees, which again was another highlight of my Armstrong career. I was invited to Indianapolis and I got the chance to represent Armstrong once again. We had a great time, and I would like to thank Lisa and President Bleiken for coming up there to see me. Thank you so much. Now, after almost 3 years of being back, Lisa called me one day to tell me that I've been inducted to the Hall of Fame, and I cannot tell you how happy I was to hear that. Thank you, Armstrong, for giving me the chance to experience all of this as a foreigner, and for giving so many other student athletes from all over the world the chance to experience the same. I could not have achieved all of this, though, without my coach Simon. Simon was the best coach of my life, and I'm not only saying this now, I really mean it. He has not only challenged me, but he also supported me so that I could play the best tennis ever, and he has taught me valuable things for life that I can now use during my professional career. So thank you, Simon, for all of your words and for your support. I also would like to thank David Secker, who was my assistant coach during those 4 years. He spent hours sitting on my court, and he knew what to tell me so that I could win. And not to forget, he also spent hours stringing the girls' rackets, so thank you, Dave. Last but not least, a big thanks to the girls that I have met during those 4 years in the US. Thank you for being such great team members, and thank you for winning the national championships with me. I also would like to thank the university, first of all President Bleiken for the President's Cup Award and for her continuous support at our matches. Thanks to the economics department for your support and understanding, and for making it possible to perfectly fit school and tennis into the schedule. Thank you to my advisor, Dr. McGrath, for this unforgettable study abroad trip to China, and for rescheduling this trip so that members of the tennis team could join as well. Last but not least, I would like to thank my family, especially my parents, who also made it possible for me that I could experience the life in the US. Armstrong has given me so much, so I'm trying to give back by, for example, helping Simon recruit Germans for the team, and by welcoming Dr. Beck from the economics department in Hamburg last year to help him organize the study abroad trip to Germany this year. Once again, I have to say, once a pirate, always a pirate, no matter where in the world you are. As I said, unfortunately I cannot be there with you all tonight, But I will be coming to Savannah in May with my whole family, and I can't wait to see everyone and to watch the current Pirates hopefully win another national championship in Orlando. So thank you so much for this award. Enjoy the evening and go Pirates! See you soon. Bye.
I mean, how unbelievable they sound on video, in person, and in written form. I mean, it just makes your heart just beat real hard, I'll tell you what. I really enjoyed watching them all play, work, and succeed in so many ways. I mean, to see Milisits throw out kids at second base was an amazing thing. To see Kaneetha come back from a terrible knee injury and just beat people up in the post and get rebounds. I don't know why she didn't have 2,000. I mean, they probably took some away from her. I tell you what, the courage that it took to come back from that and do what she did was something that a lot of us got to see, and we're so proud. Alida, I mean, that video, I mean, I think I'm okay to go, 20,
No.
20 minutes?
No.
I mean, I checked around. They said each inductee was allowed about 20 minutes. But then I had some of the coaches come by and they paid me to keep it to 5 minutes. So I'm going to do that, I guess, and do my best to keep it at that. But really want to thank the Hall of Fame Committee for their valuable service. Appreciate it. The students and staff, Lisa, the planning this event, I know takes a lot. Chad, your great leadership and directing all of the information for us. You know, it turns out to be just a wonderful night, without a doubt. So, you know, in light of trying to keep it brief, my first thought was to emulate the Oscars style of acceptance speech and list the people I need to thank. So, let's see. No, I can't do that. All right, I'll put that aside. I'm trying to keep my wallet full of some of that cash because I don't want to lose it. These coaches need money. You know, don't coaches. Right? Always need money. But anyway, you know, how did I get here? Really, it all begins and ends with Armstrong. I mean, it really does. For me, I mean, coming out of the Vietnam War era and jumping back on campus, what did I do? Well, my education and training came from people that really knew their stuff and sold it to the students every day. I would not be standing here if not for the faculty I learned from back in the late 70s. Roy Sims, George Bedwell, B.J. Ford, Larry Tapp, Jenny Knorr, and Michael Lariscy. All impacted my life in so many positive ways during and after my job as a student. My success as an AD was also dependent on people. And to my good fortune, we had outstanding ones. The sum of the parts makes the whole. That's what gets me up here. While every one of them has won a Coach of the Year or Professional Organization Award in their career. And more importantly, they were professionals, they were student-centered, and really cared about degrees. Some of them are here tonight. I couldn't be prouder of what they have accomplished, every one of you. They all brought into the idea that a student athlete was a student first and an athlete second. We weren't molding pro athletes. We were molding pro people with a degree. The titles were going to come because we all worked smarter. No doubt. I still can't express how much it meant to win the league academic award 2 years in a row, the first one. I mean, to stand there in front of an entire league considering where we had been. I mean, the professor in me was being so proud of the students that did the work and so proud of the coaches that got them here and trained them. And congrats on winning again this past year. That's high stuff. It really is. I have to admit, Dr. Jones, it was really satisfying to cut down a basketball net in Columbus's new gym. I mean, and then finishing second or third in the Commissioner's Cup every year got old. To ask some of the athletes and the coaches, it really did. I was hating it, but I, got that academic award, so I kept it all. That works. But I'm so happy that that goal has been achieved now for 2 years running, and let's keep it going. I'm so proud of this system. I mean, it isn't easy, and it takes hard work. It really does. I mean, there were people in the background that always worked hard and stood in firm support of what we were trying to accomplish. I mean, registrars, admission folks, faculty, staff, HR, the administration, the presidents, plant operations. I mean, you just couldn't do it without a true team effort. And we had that, and we do now. It's a fantastic day. In the best of times and toughest of times, I could always depend on one constant: the counsel and support of Michael Lariscy. Sometimes my partner in crime, and most times my partner in planning something new or solving a major flaw. The early years were tough when both of us took over as department heads at the same time. His efforts in support of the athletic program were extraordinary. I'll always be thankful that he was there when needed, and lucky he believed in what I was trying to accomplish as a professional. And I'm so happy we get inducted together. I'm so happy that my former boss, my former baseball coach, and my former president get to see me be inducted. It's almost speechless, but I've got a few more. I'd like to thank my family for being there and here for me. Back table, back there, if everyone will raise their hands, and friends, and up here in front. Thanks, Mom. I know Dad is up there smiling too. Okay. My wife, Michelle, and kids, Jesse and Lainey. Thanks for your love and support. Okay. How did I do on time, coaches? Refund. I keep my money?
Refund.
Refund? Anyway, well, thanks again, and much appreciation to the program and to the whole thing. Thank you.
She came up here because she had her speech written, and it was written in Swedish, right? And I was looking at it, and I can't read a damn word on that. So I was just amazed by that. I'm last on the program, and a thought came to my mind that when I had finished my dissertation, I was asked to make a presentation before a very prestigious group in higher education on my research. Well, they put me on the program the third day, the last person. I was the only person that stood between those people and lunch. And I quickly figured that out after I started talking about my research, and I just stopped and said, why don't I just cut to the chase and show you what I found out? And everybody just applauded loudly. So I covered my research in about 2 minutes, and we slipped on through it. I would also like to congratulate you 5 people who are being inducted tonight. Yes, I do serve on the Hall of Fame, and Don Anderson and I have both served on it from its inception. And it's truly an honor, and it's fun. We get to read, Mark, Tommy, Sophie, Don, Chad, and I, we get to read these wonderful bios on our athletes. And you know what the toughest thing to do is? To narrow it down to 5 people. And I just think it's really, really cool. And it's interesting, we have people waiting in the wings that are wonderful athletes. But right now, you 5 are more deserving. You're the people who should be here tonight and should be recognized. Joe Roberts is not here, but I wanted to say thank you to him. He nominated me, and that's the only reason I was brought forward, I guess. And I think that it's been really interesting. When Lisa called me, and she told me, excuse me, I keep coughing, I'm sorry. It was almost a surreal experience, because I said, you know, what does this mean? I mean, I don't even think I told my wife for a couple of days, but to be put in the company of people like Don Anderson, Dr. Tom Jones, George Bedwell, late George Bedwell, Spencer Wheeler, the Mammalakis, the Sussmans, all these people put in so much time and energy and effort just to help this program. I think it's really pretty cool, and I'm very, very appreciative for that. And what I'd like to do very quickly is I'd like to introduce my family, and I'm not going to ask them to stand up. My older brother, Dr. Lloyd Lariscy. Lloyd is an oral surgeon and a dentist from up in Grosse Pointe, Michigan. We all know why he's down here. He hadn't seen the ground in 3 months. So it gave him a great opportunity to come down here. But real inspiration. Quickly, you look at your family, and each one of you mentioned family about his role and how it plays to you. And I think that is so important. And in terms of everything that's important to me, Lloyd was I call him the brain trust in the family. I'll brag on him very quickly. He went to the University of Georgia when he was 16 years old. Got married when he was 18, had 2 kids at 20, put himself in Georgia, and then went on to dental school, and he has had a successful career as a dentist. He also has 6 children. They're not kids, they're big people now. So, Lloyd, thank you. You showed me the way. Next is my brother Johnny. Johnny's over there with the white hair, kind of. He's my baby brother, even though he looks older than me. But Johnny's had a footprint on this campus, and I don't know how many of you know it. Eric's back there looking at me. If you've been down to the soccer field, if you've seen the dugouts, Johnny was responsible for the construction of those. When Eric came here and needed something, I said, let me ask my brother. Eric met with my brother, and they discussed it, and Eric got his dugouts. Also, if you go in the field house, the softball and soccer field house, if you look at the lockers, Johnny built them and he installed them. And then the other thing that came out of this that maybe Simon doesn't even know, the tennis house that we have. My last year coaching, when we came back from the Nationals, I cannot believe we did this. We made about $11,000 on that trip, and what was left in the budget. So I convinced Mr. Stegall, please let me have that money to try and do something down at the tennis courts. We couldn't afford an architect. Johnny drew the blueprints and gave them to the school so that our plant operations could build that house for us. So I think that's pretty cool. Next is my wife, Barbara. I met Barbara. She took tennis from me when she was a freshman. She likes to brag and tell everybody how she had the highest grade in the class. Well, I exempted her from the skill finals, and I gave her the final to study with, so I expected her to make a very good grade on it. No, I did not date her when she was in that class. I waited until she turned 18 a couple of years later. I waited on that. And then I had a son and a daughter, Stephen. When Stephen left Calvary, I asked him where he wanted to go to school, and I talked to him. He said, I want to go to Armstrong. And he never applied anyplace else. Not to White, not to Jones. He applied at Armstrong. He came here, completed his IT degree, and is successfully employed at Blue Cross as a lead position in one of their teams. Stephen had a part in this school too in athletics. He became what we affectionately call our gym guard. We hired 2 or 3 people young men to watch our building in the afternoons and nights simply because we didn't want people to vandalize. At that time, the police force was so small they couldn't watch us, right, Eddie? So we hired our own. Eddie and I got together with Charlie Paris, and we used our own people to kind of protect our facilities. Then there's my daughter, Erin. She applied at lots of schools, was accepted at all of them, and it was the witching hour, and I said, honey, you got to make a decision. She finally came to me and said, I want to play with Eric. I want to play soccer. So Erin came to Armstrong to be a part of the first soccer program on this campus with Eric. Eric, thank you. And I think she was a productive member of that team for the 2 years that she played and had a wonderful time. Erin also had another role on this campus. Years ago, Jenny Noor and I started a program between the athletic department and physical education department to teach minority children how to swim. Well, after a while, I gave the program up to Erin, and Erin ran that program for us for 4 years. So we each have a role. Now, what you've seen out of this is that I graduated from Armstrong. My wife, my daughter, and my son graduated from Armstrong. Interestingly enough, the grade point average got better as we went along. One of us graduated, thank the Lordy, and one of us graduated summa cum laude. So I'll let you put that to bed how you think. Now, when I started my career, trying to decide what I was going to do, it's obvious that Lloyd has the big matter. It's obvious that Johnny has the skills and the talents. So Mom and Dad, in intuitive thinking, said, Michael should play sports. So I entered into the sports field, and I have absolutely no regrets for anything that I did in terms of that. One other thing that I failed to mention was that Barbara was a big supporter on this campus as well. Vince Dooley spoke once about, to a coaches group that I was invited to, about the role of the wives. He said to the coaches, where would you be if your wives were home taking care of the home front and your children? And for my years of coaching tennis, or my years doing other things, Barbara's always there. She adopted the tennis team players. She fed them. She counseled with them. She did everything she could to help them. And I am very, very grateful for everything that she did for them in those years. Now, I mentioned my family, and I want to talk to you about another family, and that's the family here at Armstrong. And I've heard each of you mention it, too, about this family role and this togetherness and how we feel about this campus in terms of our love for it. I had a family here. It wasn't brothers and sisters, but it was a different kind of relationship. Whether it was with the faculty, whether it was with the staff, whether it was with the students, whether it was with the administration, whether it was with the grounds crew. It was a wonderful relationship that I had all those years. I heard Tom Selleck say something one night on NYPD Blue. He was talking to one of his sons, and he said, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. If you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. I was employed by this institution for 35 and a half years. I never came to work. I came here as a student for 6 years. Yeah, 6 years. It's all right, I graduated. But it was a feeling that I started thinking about it. I spent 42 years of my life on this campus. I'm 65 now. You can do the math. I spent more time with people here than I did my life, in all honesty. And it was such a warm relationship. Did we fight? Did we argue? Yes, brothers and sisters fight. Sometimes I had to have tough love with my children, and I had to have tough love here as a faculty member and administrator or working with others. I think in a lot of ways that Eddie Aenchbacher and I came along at the right time in 1996. The school needed people that were probably jack of all trades, that were used to, you just did it all. Whether we taught and coached, we worked, we washed bleachers, we cleaned floors, we fixed school boards, whatever it took, we came along at that era. The money wasn't there and the resources were meager. And I'm glad to see they have grown to a point where we can truly support the athletic program. But I think in those ways, that Eddie, I'm very grateful for our working relationship. We were good for each other. It's not to say we didn't go in your office and close the door and yell and scream at each other a few times, but it was good for us in all that time. But I think it was a good thing. And you know what else Eddie and I realized? There's a time when you fold it and you leave. And I think both of us picked the right time for us to step out and let the program move on in another direction. It's not to say that we burned ourselves out, but it was certainly worth it. And then I thought about one other thing, and then I'll close out my program. Are you Tom? I'm at the end. Thank you, Tom. Next time you get that 2-foot putt, you're going to putt it. It's not a gimme. But I started thinking about what this means to me in my life in Armstrong. Yes, I have a family. But I started thinking about what is the one thing that sticks in my head, and it's always the students. It's always the students. Just think if the students can show up, what would be here? And I thought about the experiences that I had with the students. One experience was a young lady that came from South Dakota, and I met her family. She was 18 years old and never been that far away from home before. And we built a pretty cool relationship. Little did that girl know that her family used to talk to me occasionally. I didn't break any rules or any laws, but I kind of let them know how she was doing. Or the tennis player from the Czech Republic who became a friend and a buddy to me. We would go to breakfast together, and she would talk to me about Prague and about her country. She talked to me about her family. We didn't talk about tennis. She just wanted someone to talk to, someone that wanted to listen to her. And we have stayed friends, and my wife is friends with her on Facebook until this day. Then I had an interesting situation where I had a female student athlete who came to me, who was very troubled and very upset. And I found out she was a victim of date rape. Thank goodness that we have the people we have on this campus in this community that we can help her. Most people don't know this. Eddie didn't know this. No one else knew this because I kept it confidential. And everything was resolved. She got good counseling, and I'm happy to say she's happily married and has a beautiful son today. And she finished her career and was quite a good athlete. Then we had the young man who came to me, a strapping, strong young man I had in my class, a student athlete. And I noticed he wasn't doing well, and I asked him to see him after class one day. He came in and I closed the door. And I said, you want to talk? And he said, yeah. I said, okay. He says, my coaches don't know this, but my mom and dad are getting a divorce. And I've got a brother and sister at home, and I'm worried about it. We talked, and I talked, and I found some people that would help him. And he worked it out. He stayed here and graduated. Things got better at home. So that made me feel good. Or we had the tennis player, my wife's friend, we were just mentioning this. He was the older son in an Indian family, and he didn't want to go home because it was a prearranged marriage. And he was very upset about this. And I didn't give him any advice, and I don't think Barb did either, but he worked it out. By the way, he stayed in the United States, got a PhD in mathematics, and is teaching in the SUNY system today. He was a darn good tennis player, too. So all I thought that my role was to just listen. I could be more helpful to every one of those coaches if I was there to listen. Sometimes they would want to go to the head coach or even the assistants. But that was my job, and that was easy because I think my mom and dad kind of taught us how to do that. Actually, being recognized and rewarded here tonight is, in some ways, I don't quite understand it because I thought that was kind of part of my job. That's why I do a paycheck at the end of the month. This is what you were supposed to do. You don't need to recognize me, and you don't need to say that. But let me close with a couple of comments. First of all, let me thank Joe Roberts for nominating me, the members of the Hall of Fame Committee for you guys believing in me and putting me forward. Athletic Director Lisa Sweeney, that was a really sweet conversation we had, and for you saying yes, and then President Blanket, you're the final decision on whether or not I go in or not, and I know that, and thank you very much. It's a good chain of command, and I hope she'll let me stay on the Hall of Fame for a few more years. Let me close with one comment. I thought it was just said it all to me. It was Ken Venturi, and I don't know if you know who he is or not. He was a professional golfer. He was a good golfer. Won the U.S. Open at Congressional. He developed some hand issues. He couldn't play anymore, so he went into CBS Sports as a commentator. And when he retired, someone said, is there anything you want to say? And he said, the greatest reward in life is to be remembered. The greatest reward in life is simply to be remembered. Ladies and gentlemen, you have remembered